Hi, it's Tony, and I'll be talking to Deb Kanak from Bowtie Promotions in Fyshwick today on the Small Interview Project.
Today on the Small Interview Project, I'm with Deb Kanak from Bowtie Promotions in Fyshwick. How are you today, Deb?
Very good.
Thank you for doing the Small Interview Project.
You're welcome.
Bowtie Promotions, what do you do?
Pretty much anything you can put a logo on, we do.
Right.
We specialise in corporate uniforms and promotional products.
Right.
Anything that's branded,
Okay.
we attend to that. So, and we also do event theming, school uniforms, conference facilities, which
Okay.
are compendiums,
Yep.
all of those kinds of things. So basically, it's anything you can put a logo on, we basically do. So.
Okay. And how long have you been in business?
We bought the business as a going concern in 2007.
Okay.
Yes.
And is it I know it's a fairly competitive space,
Absolutely, yes.
the supply of those types of promotional goods.
Yes.
How do you provide a different service to the online space where people can get the cheap and nasty products?
Yeah. We provide a personalised approach to people's marketing solutions.
Right.
You can buy a pen online, but is that the best value for your money in terms of where you want to go with your clients?
Right.
How you want to reach your clients?
Okay.
We sit down and we talk to people about their budget.
Yep.
And what it is that they want to achieve with that actual item itself.
Okay.
So we have a discussion about whether that's really good bang for their bucks.
Right.
We recently, probably example is that a company had money to spend. They're a geotechnic company in Canberra.
Yep.
And they concentrated on a product which was a little bit more expensive and bought lesser numbers of that, but were happy with their spend is that people will look at that product that they were given and go, wow, that's really good.
Yeah.
Instead of just a pen or something that they maybe use on a daily basis but really don't think about it.
Sure.
Put it aside. So it's about working with clients.
Yep.
About their marketing and promotional solutions.
Okay, no, excellent. And I suppose the quality is important because that reflects on the brand as well. If someone goes cheap and nasty, well, it's perceived as a cheap and nasty brand.
You get what you pay for.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like most things. All right, let me get into my my questions for you, Deb. So tell me, why did you go into business in the first place?
I guess we accidentally fell into this business. It gave us an opportunity which we didn't sort of go seeking.
Right.
But I had a change of lifestyle. I came
Okay.
from Sydney down to Canberra,
Yep.
following love.
Yes.
And then saw an opportunity to get out of the public sector, which I'd been in for 30 years.
Okay.
And the idea of coming into a service business, which I'm very heavily on service. I like to be served properly and I like to serve people properly,
Yep.
but also a lifestyle.
Okay.
Is that it's flexible and yet you're quite, you have control over your own destiny.
Right.
To a certain degree.
Yeah.
But it'll always be market forces, but you certainly have more destiny than being an employee of the boss.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's a common theme.
Sure.
If you had your time over again, would you do anything differently?
I think that I would probably seek. It's easy to go back and say what I know now.
Yes.
That I knew then would be much more useful to me. I would seek advice more from people who were small business orientated,
Right.
and professionals who would be able to set some things up in my business.
Yep.
It wasn't a greenfield site when we came there, so we basically inherited some things which probably we're still grappling with.
Yes.
But advice from small businesses on how to set that up and how to do that properly from the beginning, because you don't want to be working on the processes of your business while you're trying to work your business.
Sure.
So yeah,
Okay.
probably
No,
those
that's good.
things.
That's a good advice. What about your biggest challenge you have there? What's your biggest challenge in business?
I guess the competition.
Yep.
These economic times are to stay relevant while people are tightening their belts.
Yes.
On a personal sense,
Yep.
from our business point of view, and I guess the challenges is to stay fresh and to keep ahead of technology, but to also keep renewing your business so that you're not ending up with old technology and you're not sort of grappling with those things, but continuing to move on.
Okay. I had a discussion with somebody recently about the whole, the service versus price sort of decision-making process out there, and I guess that's very relevant in your sector and in a lot of sectors. But obviously, you're trying to differentiate yourself with the service side of things. So, how do you convince the consumer that you know, the product and the service is you know, better than paying the cheapest possible price out there.
Well,
is it back to what we said before, or?
Well, sometimes having a conversation with people is that face-to-face is really important.
Yeah.
Try not to kind of use technology too much of phones and internet, is that the messages can get a little bit mixed.
Sure.
And people don't get a sense of your passion for what you do.
Absolutely.
In terms of your clientele.
Yeah.
And how you want to satisfy that.
Yeah.
And the other thing is about, I guess, when people have a bad experience, they come to us. Sometimes we lose people, like we give them quotations and they're happy to go online.
Yeah.
And they'll get something online and maybe they'll have, 9 out of 10 experiences will be okay. We always find those people will inevitably come back to us because they'll have a bad experience.
Sure.
They will not get their products. They will pay for it up front.
Yep.
And when they get it, it's rubbish and they can't do anything about it.
Absolutely.
And so they always come back to us and say, oh, look, can we get these things from you guys? And they will continue to come back.
Yeah, absolutely. Once they're there, once they get that experience.
They do.
I can vouch for that on a personal basis because I tried a certain online company that advertises very cheaply for something which I didn't have expectations of it being good, and when it came, my expectations were completely met.
That's right.
Oh crap.
That's right. But I encourage my staff. Some of my staff are that sort of internet email kind of thing. I haven't concentrated a lot on having a whiz-bang website.
Yes.
I would rather that people come and ring us and talk to us, because then sometimes we talk them out of some things they were going to get and talk them into some things that are really of good value to them.
Sure.
And so that's the difference, is that you can make a decision yourself about something, but if you don't have any idea about what it is that you want, coming and talking to people like us helps you make up your mind or change your decision and go for something that's a bit more valuable.
Definitely. How do you focus on or balance working on versus in your business?
Yeah, that's always a big challenge. That's okay if working on your business is good if you have a lot of people you can delegate those things to. A lot of small business will tell you that they're working in their business because they do their admin, they do their accounting, they do every part of their business. We just try and balance that by having, I guess, people in our office. We have 3 people. We try to say that these 3 people do certain things. We do multitask, of course, so I couldn't just leave the warehousing to Pete if he were not there.
Sure.
But things like B&I is that when I leave B&I on a Thursday, I go back, and Thursday is basically my contact day, my follow-up day, things like that, where I will make meetings for the next week or something like that.
Sure.
So you have to allocate time for that. There's always going to be a challenge of, if you can't, and like contracting out is a really good way of doing it. I don't do my own books. I don't do any of that bookkeeping. That I pay for somebody to do that. But there are aspects of things that I really need to do myself, and you're not going to get away from that. But you must have a time balance where you allocate time to do certain things.
Okay, so you use a weekly sort of schedule, or a week where you schedule doing that
probably
on
do
the business
a day.
stuff.
Because if I don't get to a task in a day, it goes into the next day, and I must complete it by a certain time.
No, that's good. That's a good practice to have. And my last question for you, Deb, is what advice would you have for potential newbies to business?
Well, I guess we go back to the question of what I would do differently. Is that really get loads and loads of advice. Try and join a networking group such as B&I. I think someone like Chrissy, with her Give a Little Gift, she has started off on the right foot, is that she started her business, she came into B&I very quickly, and has reaped the benefits from talking to people who have been there, done that, but people who can offer her a service or advice or whatever. And there's loads and loads of things you don't know about setting up small business. There's government traps, there's all sorts of things that if you set them up right in the first place, you don't make a rod for your own back, and you're not continuing to deal with them down the track instead of working on your business. And just accept advice from people. You've got to differentiate what's good and what's not. And even the bad advice or things that are bad experience still have a lesson in there, and go, well, I won't be doing that again. But probably going and getting good advice from people about setting things up right in the first place.
Excellent. And that's good advice, Deb. Look, thanks for being part of the Small Interview Project.
Thank you.
And thanks for your time.
Okay.